prolonged. The pandemic is ending, and you want to keep everybody angry at COVID and the assault on freedom because you have to wear masks. God forbid you have to keep your community safe.
My friend, Nomiki Konst, was a host of the Nomiki Show, was on Fox News where she battled host Will Cain over Big Pharma and vaccines. I want to play a clip of their discussion for you here.
$5.6 billion in revenue to Big Pharma so far through the COVID-19 vaccine. I've read your Twitter feed. I've seen a lot of your comments, Nomiki. You've been pretty aggressive. You've said that conservatives or anyone else who has questions about the vaccine are anti-vaxxers. You pointed Joe Rogan, I believe, once and called him an anti-vaxxer. Is it wrong to have questions about the motivations of this vaccine? Is it wrong right now to remain skeptical of Big Pharma?
Well, I love that you're skeptical of Big Pharma, just like Katie Porter was skeptical of Big Pharma just yesterday, who's a representative from California, a Democrat, and just like Bernie Sanders has put forward 3 pieces of legislation to rein in on Big Pharma and the fact that they're focused on profits. Listen, AbbVie, this is a pharmaceutical company, spent $1.6 billion in 5 years on research and development, yet $50 billion went to shareholders, $13 billion went to stock buybacks during that 5-year period. Their priorities are absolutely
Nomiki, that's
in the wrong
absolutely,
places.
that backs up the point. I'm sorry, Nomiki, but the question isn't why I
agree.
have grown skepticism towards Big Pharma. The question is why those on the left, like yourself, have become such blind followers of Big Pharma. Why is it if you have questions... Well, Nomiki, you've been calling anyone that would question Big Pharma when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine an anti-vaxxer. When did you place your trust so blindly in people that stand to make $5.6 billion from this vaccine?
The definition of intelligence is being able to hold 2 thoughts in your head at the same time and be able to consider. Big Pharma makes a lot of money, and they're not spending enough money on research and development, which is where their priority should be.
But they should be trusted blindly on this issue?
Other pharmaceuticals are stronger. It's not blind. The science is out about the vaccines. The vaccines work. Should there be a booster? I'm no scientist, but neither is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan should not act like a scientist. Joe Rogan should not be telling
Nomiki,
people not to wear masks,
here's the
take
truth.
the vaccine.
This is
He
what
has
I'm
the largest
concerned about.
podcast on
I'm
the
concerned
planet.
you're a big vaccine booster now, not because you believe the science backs it up, but because the vaccine has come to represent a political ideal, a political signifier. I think you did it because you thought it was a win over Republicans. That's all. Nothing more, nothing deeper.
No, the Republicans want to keep their base. See, what's happening right now is you guys want to prolong. The pandemic is ending, and you want to keep everybody angry at COVID and the assault on freedom because you have to wear masks. God forbid you have to keep your community safe and your grandmother safe. You want to keep that going because it's been working.
I got to run, Nomiki. I want to say 2 things.
All right. Good job, Nomiki. Look, I probably even said her name wrong in the beginning of this. It's Nomiki. I think that's the first time I heard Nomiki, but hilarious. Anyways, obviously here I'm biased, but I thought Nomiki did a fantastic job really dissecting the problem here. Like this quote from Will Cain is amazing projection. I'm concerned you're a big vaccine booster now, not because you believe the science backs it up, but because the vaccine has come to represent a political ideal. Who's pushed that idea? Conservatives have pushed that idea, not the left. Nobody on the left is saying. I don't know. I don't know even how you would intertwine getting vaccinated with your politics. It's this whole. Especially if you know any anti-vaxxers, which I do, they're not the one I know is not conservative, and many are yoga kombucha kind of people, and nothing. I'm into natural healing. I'm not against that stuff. In fact, I've used some of it myself, but I'm also a believer in science, and I'm a believer in vaccines, and I'm a believer in the obvious data coming out showing where people are vaccinated in the U.S. As vaccines have increased, cases have come down. It's obvious. Also in Israel, same thing. Ton of vaccinations out, cases came down. So I'm a believer in data, in science, but the idea that it's a political position to be pro-vaccine is so completely insane, and obviously here he's projecting. Now, there's also, at the heart of all of this, there's, yes, a healthy skepticism of Big Pharma. So the idea that Big Pharma, making all this money off these vaccines, yeah, that's a problem. And guess what? If you're angry about that, then you should want to decommodify healthcare. You should want to get capitalism out of healthcare. But of course, a conservative is not going to back that idea. So they're just angry about Big Pharma making money while having no actual critique of the system that led them to make that kind of money off the vaccines. Now, the people that, not conservatives, but the people that have a real skepticism of the healthcare industry, of Big Pharma, and have led that to vaccines, there's an underlying point that they have there in terms of the idea that doctors, overprescribe pills, don't focus enough on health and wellness. This is an issue in the healthcare industry. But to then extend that to everything, to then extend that to vaccine science, there's no connection there. And obviously, look around the world, who's vaccinated, it's helped bring the numbers down. So it's fine to be skeptical of a system that is so based in money, where you have healthcare executives making millions and millions and millions. Of course, yes, be skeptical of that. Want to decommodify healthcare, get the profit motive completely out of healthcare. That should be a desire of everyone. But you can't extend that skepticism to everything when it comes to healthcare and science. So in terms of discussing this issue with people that are anti-vax, that are not conservatives, I think that's kind of how you can discuss it. And again, I've discussed in the past, when you're talking with people who don't view things the way you do, you have to go into a conversation like that willing to listen and speak on their level. Don't speak down to anybody that you think is stupid or whatever. Like, you have to be able to speak on their level, be kind, be courteous, and just have a conversation. Don't think you're going to change someone's mind in the moment, because you're not going to. You may plant some seeds though, and that's what you hope will bloom into evolution in terms of ideas and people changing. But in terms of the conservative, though, conservatives on this issue, they have nothing to stand on. They're not against money in healthcare, yet they're against the vaccine. Like, I don't even understand their thought process. But again, it goes back to them connecting it to a political ideal, because that is absolutely not how the left has viewed this issue.